Hey guys, tonight we're heading somewhere cold, colder than your feet under the blanket at 3 a.m., and way more unsettling. Welcome to a strange little village in Iceland, where the moon hangs lower than it should, and not everyone here is entirely alive. You probably won't make it out alive either, but hey, that's none of my business. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And leave a comment with where you're watching from and what time zone you're in. I always love seeing how far this weird little community reaches. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You arrive in the north during what should be late afternoon, though the sky's already sliding into a soft gray. It's not quite twilight, not quite dusk, just that peculiar half-light Iceland does so well in winter. The village doesn't even have a name on Google Maps, just a cluster of roofs near a black sand beach, ringed by jagged cliffs and stretches of moss-covered lava fields. You had to take 2 buses and a final stretch of road that wasn't paved so much as suggested. The air is crisp, too crisp. Every breath feels slightly hollow in your chest, as though the cold has scraped the inside of your lungs. There's a low howl in the wind, like it's catching on something invisible overhead. No one comes to greet you. The bus driver doesn't wait around either, just nods without a word and pulls away, the engine coughing into the silence. You stand there with your bag, shoes already damp from the slush creeping up through the dirt road. It's quiet. Too quiet. Even in remote places, you expect the buzz of electricity, the hum of life, but here, there's nothing. No birds. No cars. Just the wind, and somewhere distant, the slow creak of wood shifting under cold. There's a single house at the end of the main path, a dark gray building with narrow windows and a sharply peaked roof. You were told someone named Ragna would be waiting there to give you the room key. You knock. Then knock again. Nothing. Just as you turn to walk away, the door opens a fraction. An older man peers out, eyes narrowed. He doesn't say hello. He just holds out a heavy iron key attached to a strip of black leather, like he expected you. No explanation. No smile. He closes the door before you can ask which house is yours. The key fob has a number etched into it, 13. Of course. You make your way to the edge of the village, following uneven stepping stones that lead toward the cliff. There's no handrail, no fence, nothing but a wide stretch of rocky ground and a drop into the churning sea far below. Your cottage is perched right there, half buried in the moss, with 2 sharp little windows looking out at the horizon. Inside, it's cleaner than expected. Sparse. Wood-paneled walls, a twin bed with thick wool blankets, and a desk with a single oil lamp flickering softly. There's no Wi-Fi. Of course. As you're unpacking, you notice the windows have no curtains. Just clean glass looking out toward the sea, and the pale, bloated moon rising over it. That's when you see it. Far out on the cliff edge, too close to the drop, is a figure. Not moving. Not walking. Just standing. You squint. Can't make out features. Could be a person. Could be a trick of the light. But it's definitely something. You turn away for just a second, to grab your phone, and when you look again, it's gone. You didn't hear it move. You didn't hear it leave. Later that evening, you venture to the village's tiny cafe, a converted barn lit by strings of soft yellow bulbs. You expect warmth, chatter, maybe some curious glances. But no one speaks to you. They avoid your eyes. Pretend they don't see you. Except one woman. She sits at the far end of the room, hands wrapped around a chipped teacup. Her hair is snow-white, her coat thick and worn. Her eyes never leave yours. She doesn't blink much. Doesn't smile. Just watches. When you finally make your way over and ask if she's Ragna, she nods once. Then says, quietly, room 13, then. You'll want to keep the windows closed at night. But it won't help. You ask what that means. She sips her tea. Says nothing else. Outside, the moon is high now, larger than you've ever seen it, tinged faintly blue. Your breath fogs the air as you walk back, crunching over frost already forming along the stone path. At your window, you stop. The moonlight is pouring in, unnaturally bright. You close the shutters, though they creak and resist as if they haven't been touched in years. That night, you dream of cliffs and waves, and a pale woman standing in moonlight, arms raised, face hidden in shadow. Many people don't believe that places can remember things. But this village? It remembers everything. The next morning, you wake with a sense that someone has been standing just outside the window all night. You slept, technically, but it didn't feel like rest. It felt like waiting. The kind of sleep you slip into during long-haul flights, where your body is still tense and your mind half awake, watching for danger. The shutters are still closed. That's the first thing you check. But the iron latch you secured them with last night is open now. Hanging loose. The shutters swing gently in the early wind. You convince yourself it's nothing. Old hinges. Weak latch. Things like that happen. But it doesn't sit right. You dress in layers, thick socks, thermals, wool. The guest manual, a single laminated page, says breakfast is served somewhere in the village, which feels more like a riddle than a welcome. The wind cuts sharper today. You keep your head low, collar up. The villagers are out, but again, no one speaks to you. They nod faintly, as if acknowledging a storm on the horizon. You stop by the same cafe, hoping for coffee and warmth. It's empty now, except for the owner, who silently places a cup in front of you before you even order. You haven't seen her before, but she seems to know who you are. The cliffs can be tricky, she says, not quite looking at you. Don't walk too close at night. She prefers the edge. You ask who she is. She smiles, a tight, dry thing. You'll know when she looks back. You drink the coffee anyway. It's bitter. Metallic. Later, you explore. There isn't much to see, a church with boarded windows, a schoolhouse overrun with moss, a cemetery where the stones have all toppled backward, as if pushed from behind. Eventually, you find yourself back at the edge of the village, where your room perches like a waiting bird on a cliff. It's then you notice it, the sea is absolutely still. Not calm, still. No motion. Not even the occasional slap of a wave against rock. Just a flat sheet of gray stretching to the horizon. It makes the hairs on your arms rise. Even the wind seems afraid to touch the water. You walk to the edge of the cliff, instinctively keeping a few steps back. Your boots crunch over frost that wasn't there a minute ago. It coats only this part of the ground, an uneven oval, faintly glowing. And then, faintly, behind you, the creak of a door. You turn quickly. Nothing. But when you return to your room, the front door is open. Wide. You'd locked it. You're certain. Inside, something feels off. The lamp is lit, though you didn't light it. The blankets on the bed are folded in half now, perfectly square, like someone prepared it for another guest. You freeze. Listen. Nothing but your own breath, and a low humming, so low you feel it more than hear it, like the floorboards have caught a tune and are holding it just for themselves. That's when you notice the new item in the room. On the desk, a photograph in a rusted silver frame. You don't remember it being there before. It shows a woman, long pale hair, standing in front of the cliffs under a full moon. Her eyes are closed. Or maybe the photo has been scratched over. You flip the frame. Nothing written. No date. You put it face down. That night, you try to keep the shutters closed again, this time jamming the latch with a spoon handle. You block the window with your backpack and pile some of your clothes on the sill for good measure. But at some point, you wake up. And the moonlight is back. Pouring through the window, soft and silvery. Your backpack lies on the floor. Your sweater, thick and green, is pressed flat against the far wall, like something through it. You hear a sound now. Soft, rhythmic. Like someone pacing outside your window. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. Pause. You stay very still. Eventually, you gather the nerve to peek through the slats. Nothing. Then you look down. Just below the window, too close for you to have seen straight on, are two footprints in the frost. Bare. Human. Toes pointed toward your wall. You jerk back. Hit the floor. Try not to breathe too loudly. You lie there until the pale light of dawn edges through the cracks again. Many people don't believe that ghosts need invitation. But in some places, simply being seen is enough. The next morning, you step outside, heart tight in your chest, and glance down at the patch of ground beneath the window. The footprints are gone. Not melted, gone. The frost remains undisturbed, like nothing was ever there. You kneel, brush your glove across the ground. Nothing. No impressions. You don't know what bothers you more, the idea that the prints vanished, or that maybe you dreamed the entire thing. You take a slow walk through the village again, this time cutting through narrow alleyways between turf houses. The buildings are low and squat, half swallowed by the earth. Some have thick sod roofs, and you realize they aren't abandoned, they're still lived in. Curtains twitch as you pass. But no one speaks. Then you see her. At the far end of the narrow path, sitting on a low wooden stool outside a weathered house, is a woman who looks strangely out of place. Her clothes are older than everyone else's, layers of knitted shawls, hand-woven gloves, a silver brooch at her collar. Her eyes are pale gray, but too sharp to be fading. She smiles at you. Not warmly. Just, knowingly. You approach. Ragna, you ask. She nods. Her voice is thin, like wind through birch trees. You saw her, didn't you? You hesitate. Nod once. She comes with the moonlight, she says. But not every moonlight. Only when the sea stops moving. You start to ask what that means, but she raises a hand. You don't need to understand. You just need to be still when she walks. Don't follow her. Don't call to her. And whatever you do, don't let her know your name. You feel the cold in her words more than the air around you. I've lived here longer than most, she adds. Watched them go, one by one. Some followed her. Some thought she needed help. She stands, slowly. You think she might offer to show you something. Instead, she just says, walk with me. You follow. Past the church, toward the far end of the village, where a small clearing breaks the line of houses. There, she points to a faded black and white photograph nailed to a wooden post. It's curling from the corners, water-stained. It shows a group of villagers standing in front of the cliff, the same cliff behind your cottage. You scan the faces. In the back row, eyes shadowed, stands the woman in front of you. Ragna. She hasn't changed. Not a single wrinkle different. You look from the photo to her. She waits for your question but says nothing. How old are you? You ask quietly. Old enough, she says, turning away. You should go. You've brought too much warmth with you. You try to ask what she means, but she's already gone, moved into the shadows of the alley as if she was never there. You return to your cottage. Lock the door. Sit on the bed for what feels like an hour, unmoving. The oil lamp flickers again, even though you haven't touched it. The flame pulses once, twice, then steadies. Later that afternoon, as the sky dims, you catch yourself checking the sea again. Still flat. Still silent. You don't like how easily that has become your barometer for danger. The locals say nothing that evening. The cafe is closed. The windows of the homes glow a faint orange, all curtains tightly drawn. You don't knock on any doors. Instead, you make tea in the kettle provided in your room, though the water smells faintly briny, like it's been pulled from the sea. You sip it anyway. As night falls, the moon rises full again. That same cold light creeps across your floor. You hear something. Not footsteps this time. Not directly. It's humming. A soft, almost childlike tune, off-key, halting, like someone trying to remember how it goes. You don't look out the window. You refuse to look out the window. Instead, you lie in bed, pulling the covers up over your ears. But the humming grows louder. Still off-key. Still close. You try to focus on your breathing. Count backward from 100. And then. A whisper, right outside the door. Your name. Your actual name. Spoken softly. Lovingly. You've never told it to anyone here. The voice is not yours. Many people don't believe that knowing a name gives something power. But you do now. You lie still. As still as your heartbeat allows. That whisper, your name, wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a dream. It was said with care. Intimacy. Like someone who's known you longer than you've been alive. And it shouldn't be possible. You haven't said your name to anyone since arriving here. Not at the cafe. Not to Ragna. Not even aloud to yourself. The door doesn't move. It doesn't creak open or rattle in its frame. It just waits there, quiet, as if the thing on the other side doesn't need permission to come in. It's simply choosing not to. For now. You retreat from it slowly, back toward the bed. You sit with your back against the wall, knees pulled up, trying to listen beyond the silence. Nothing. Not even the wind. Eventually, dawn comes, not with light, but with less darkness. You get dressed in layers again, avoiding the window. You don't want to know if the frost is back. You already know. Later, while walking through the village, you find yourself drawn toward the oldest part of town, buildings that sag into the earth, covered in living moss. Most are silent, abandoned. But one has smoke curling from a chimney. You knock. A young boy answers. Couldn't be older than 10. He stares at you for a long time before stepping aside to let you in. The house smells of fish broth and old books. A woman sits by the fire, knitting. Her hands are fast, practiced. She doesn't look up. She's been waiting, the boy says. You don't ask who. You already know. The woman finally lifts her eyes. They're milky, but not blind. You heard her, then, she says. You nod. She learns quickly. That's how she chooses. Chooses what, you ask. The woman looks back down at her knitting. Who stays? You don't ask more questions. The boy hands you something small before you leave, a lump of black stone, smooth and cold. It fits perfectly in your palm. For the window, he says. You return to your room before dusk. Lock the door. Bolt the windows. Prop the stone on the sill. It radiates a strange chill, as if the cold isn't coming from outside, but from within the stone itself. The moon rises, too large again, and with it, the feeling of being watched. You lie on your bed, eyes fixed to the ceiling, refusing to move. And then, the sound. Soft. So soft you almost think it's inside your head. Footsteps. But not on the ground this time. On the roof. They don't pace. They crawl. A dragging, deliberate weight. Something too thin, too long-limbed. A slide of frost follows every movement, seeping down the walls like veins of ice. You stare at the lamp, begging it not to flicker. It does. Just once. Then a voice again. Only this time, it's not your name. It's a song. Or a lullaby. Words in a language you don't understand, hummed low and uneven, like someone remembering a tune from another life. You cover your ears. You whisper your own name, over and over, trying to ground yourself. And then... silence. You peel your hands away. The lamp is steady. The frost has melted. The window is wide open. And sitting on the inside ledge, where the stone once was, is a lock of white hair. Many people don't believe spirits can cross thresholds without invitation. But maybe that only applies to houses made of wood and brick, not to places that belong to her. You dream you're walking barefoot across the frost. The cold should sting, but it doesn't. The ice feels soft. Almost warm. The moon is enormous above you, too large, too near, as if it might fall. You hear breathing. But not your own. It comes from behind you. Shallow. Steady. You stop walking. So does it. You start again. It follows. You don't look back. You don't have to. You know it's her. When you wake, the soles of your feet are damp. Frost clings to your socks. You don't check the window. You don't need to. You spend the day walking the village in a daze. You're not even sure what you're looking for. Answers? A way out? Maybe just a warm room with lights that don't flicker. By late afternoon, snow begins to fall, slow, feathery flakes that don't seem to land. They drift sideways, held aloft by wind that doesn't stir the trees. As you pass the schoolhouse again, something catches your eye, a thin crack in the foundation, wide enough to slip your fingers through. Inside, tucked just barely in reach, you see it. A small, weathered book. Bound in strange leather, dull, almost waxy. You dig it out carefully. The leather gives under your hands in a way that feels too soft. You try not to think about what it might be made of. The cover is unmarked. But inside, the pages are covered in a neat, spidery script, some of it in Icelandic, some in English. Intermixed with the writing are hand-drawn sketches, cliffs, waves, the full moon. And always, her. Not just standing. Moving. Kneeling. Reaching. Sometimes with her face half hidden. Sometimes with her arms stretched toward someone you can't quite make out. One image repeats, a pale figure under the full moon, standing in front of a cottage. A window glows behind her. Inside, a person sits, unaware. Your breath stutters when you realize the window, the roofline, the position of the cliff, it's your cottage. You flip to the back pages. There, scrawled across an otherwise blank sheet, is a list. 10 names. Each one followed by a single word, vanished. Gone. Lost. Taken. The last name is yours. You drop the journal. You pick it up again. Of course you do. You return to your room and stare at it under the lamplight. The drawings seem even more detailed now, as if they've shifted slightly since you first looked. That night, you can't bring yourself to sleep. You sit in bed, book in lap, lamp flickering like it's breathing. Then you hear it. Rustling. Not outside. Inside. You turn slowly. The frost is back. A thin crust across the floor, just around the edges of the room. And sitting neatly at your feet is a new page from the journal. You know it wasn't there before. It's torn, edges still curling. On it, a sketch of you. Eyes closed. A pale hand reaching for your shoulder from the corner. You don't scream. You don't move. Instead, you whisper something. You're not sure what. A prayer, maybe. A memory. A song from childhood. Anything to break the silence. The frost melts instantly. The paper curls into ash. The lamp steadies. And you know now, she doesn't just want to be seen. She wants to be remembered. Many people don't believe objects can carry intention. But then again, most people haven't held a book like this. You stare at the lock of hair. It's coiled perfectly, placed with intention. Pale as milk, delicate, but thick, strangely dense for something so fine. The stone the boy gave you is gone, as if it was never there at all. You don't touch it. You don't even move closer. You just close the window slowly, careful not to disturb the strand. As the latch clicks into place, you feel a sharp ache behind your eyes, like a headache rising from inside your skull. There's a sound. Low and deep. Not a growl, not quite. It's a hum, vibrating up from the floorboards. It lasts only a second, then fades. The air settles. You're alone again. You fall asleep without meaning to. When you wake, it's midday. The snow has stopped. The clouds have pulled back slightly, letting the sun filter through in patches. The world outside your cottage looks almost normal, as though the village is trying to pretend it never saw the night. You head toward the one place you haven't yet explored, the hot spring. A natural pool tucked between stones on the edge of the forest. Ragna once mentioned it in passing, calling it the warm mouth of the land. It takes you nearly an hour to find it, the trail winding through dense birch and moss-covered boulders. When you arrive, steam curls lazily into the frigid air, blurring the trees into soft, waving shadows. The surface of the water is still. Not a ripple. It looks like black glass with mist for a border. There's no one else here. You step in carefully. The heat clutches your legs like something alive. You sink slowly, until only your shoulders remain above the water. It's quiet. Then the whispers begin. At first, it's just breath. A soft exhale that could be your own. But the rhythm is wrong. There's a second voice, then a third. All whispering at once, overlapping, never fully forming words. You sit very still. The air is thick with mist now. You can't see the trees. You can't see the edge of the pool. The voices grow clearer. Not louder, just sharper. They're saying names. Not yours. Others. Old names. Icelandic. Foreign. Then, one that chills you completely. Ragna. You stand abruptly, water dripping from your arms. The steam parts for just a second, and on the far side of the spring, someone is sitting. A woman. You didn't hear her approach. You didn't see her arrive. She just is. Her hair floats in the water like seaweed. She sits with her back to you, but her head tilts, just slightly, as if she's listening. The whispers stop. You step back. Your foot slips on the stone beneath you, and your hand slaps the surface with a loud splash. You blink. She's gone. The mist is clear again. No figure. No sound. You rush out, dress quickly, not even drying off properly. The walk back feels much longer. The snow has returned. That night, you light the lamp and sit on the bed, clutching the journal in your lap. You flip through it again, faster this time, searching for answers. In the middle pages, you find something new. A sketch of the hot spring. But in the drawing, it's full of faces, ghostly, blurred, all watching from just beneath the surface. There's a note scrawled beneath it, she remembers the drowned first. You don't know what that means. But you think about the lock of hair. The stone. The voices. She's getting closer. You go to the window. It's shut. Still latched. But when you breathe on the glass, it fogs, and something appears in the center of the condensation, a small handprint. You pull back. Wipe it away. Nothing there. You return to bed. Curl beneath the blanket. You try to hum something, anything, to drown out the silence. But you hear the spring. Still whispering. Still naming. And one of the names this time is yours. Many people don't believe that water remembers. But in this place, it's the only thing that ever does. The next morning, you avoid the window entirely. There's frost along the edges of the walls, thin and filigreed like veins of silver glass. You don't bother brushing it off, it feels like something sacred. Or maybe something cursed. Either way, better not to disturb it. You open the journal again. Back to the page with the sketch of the hot spring. The ghostly faces. The note, she remembers the drowned first. You stare at the handwriting. It looks more rushed than the rest. Shaky. Almost like it was written in fear. You flip further. There are more drawings, scraps of them tucked into corners, margins. One shows the full moon. Another, a cottage surrounded by bare trees, their limbs twisted like hands clawing upward. Then there's a name, written over and over across 2 pages, Gufinna. 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 You speak it aloud, once, softly. The air in the room tightens. Outside, the snow falls harder. You decide to visit Ragna again. The walk to her house is slow. The paths are less clear today, blurred under heavy snowdrifts, and the village is eerily quiet. No laughter. No voices. No footsteps but yours. When you arrive, her door is ajar. You knock lightly, but no one answers. Inside, it's dark, except for a single candle glowing in the center of the table. You step in. Ragna is sitting in her chair, unmoving. Her hands rest on her lap, and her eyes are fixed on the fireplace, not the flames, but something behind them. The expression on her face is hollow. You speak her name. She doesn't blink. Then her lips move. She's waking, she says. You ask who. You already know the answer. She never liked the cold, Ragna whispers. So they kept her under the spring, where it's warm. But she gets lonely when the snow comes. When the moon is full. You shiver. You ask her about the name in the journal. Gufinna, Ragna says. The midwife's daughter. Died in winter. Not from illness. From silence. No one speaks of it. Not here. You ask what happened to her. She walked backward into the lake, Ragna murmurs. While the moon watched. The next day, her mother screamed so hard she cracked her own ribs. You ask why no one remembers her. Ragna's eyes finally shift to you. They are glassy, almost colorless. Because forgetting is the only way to live here. Then she smiles. It's a soft, broken thing. She liked to sing, she adds. Before. You leave before she says more. You don't want to know what before meant. That night, the moon is full again. You try not to look at it, but it's everywhere, the reflection in the water glass, the halo around the curtain edge, the white glow across the ceiling. Like it's breathing light into the room. The whispering returns, but it's closer this time. Not outside. Inside the cottage. Just beneath the floorboards. Like someone curled under the house, whispering into the wood. You plug your ears. You hum again. But the voices don't care. They slip in like cold air, sliding beneath doorways and through walls. You hear her name again, Gufinna. You squeeze your eyes shut. Then you hear humming. Not yours. A melody. Soft. Childlike. Just behind you. You turn. The lock of hair has returned. It lies across your pillow now, curled into the shape of a spiral. Like the kind carved on old Viking stones to mark death. You grab it, without thinking, and throw it into the fireplace. It doesn't burn. It just sits in the flames, pale and whole, untouched. A curl of smoke rises, and in it, for just a moment, you see a face. A girl. Eyes wide. Lips parted like she's about to sing. Then the smoke is gone. You fall back onto the bed, heart racing. You don't sleep. Just before dawn, you rise. Pull on boots. Coat. Wrap your scarf tight. You take the journal, shove it in your bag. You need answers. You're going to the church. You haven't been yet. No one has invited you. But you saw it once from a distance, high on a ridge, surrounded by dead grass and wind. Maybe someone there will remember her. Maybe someone there will admit she was real. The village stays asleep as you walk, the snow crunching beneath your steps. The moon slips lower in the sky, but it never really disappears. At the church, the doors are shut. Covered in frost. The bell tower leans slightly to one side, like it's been tired for years. You knock. Nothing. Then you push the doors open. They creak like bones. Inside, it's warmer than expected. A fire glows in a cast iron stove near the altar. The pews are empty, but there's incense in the air, clove, maybe. Or something darker. At the front of the church stands a tall woman in a long black coat. Her hair is braided into two ropes that fall down her back. She doesn't turn. I was wondering when you'd come, she says. You ask how she knows you. Because the moon keeps watching you. You ask about Gefinna. She finally turns. Her eyes are like melted candle wax, soft, unreadable. Most people forget her, she says. But not everyone wants to. You open the journal. Show her the sketches. The names. She looks. Then she closes the book gently. There are stories, she says, that only survive in blood. You ask what that means. She leans closer. You've been dreaming of the water, haven't you? You don't answer. You will. She walks past you, leaving the book behind. The stove crackles. Outside, the wind picks up. You feel something moving beneath your skin, like a memory that isn't yours. Many people don't believe that a place can choose you. But the spring already has. The sky stays gray all morning. The moon won't fully leave. It just hangs there like an afterthought, dull and low, ghosting behind the clouds. You try to tell yourself that it's normal. Just a coincidence. But it feels more like the world is waiting for something. You take the journal back to your cottage, hands stiff from the cold. You've stopped asking why the village roads are so empty. You already know the answer no one will say. Inside, you sit by the fire and flip through the journal again. There's a page you missed, tucked between two sheets, thin and crumbling. On it, a charcoal drawing of a woman with her eyes closed, mouth open in song. She's surrounded by fish. One of them has a human tooth in its mouth. You don't look at it too long. You reach the back cover and feel something thick. Taped inside is a folded note. You peel it free. It reads: When the moon touches the spring, don't drink. Don't look. Don't sing. That's it. You lean back, breath shallow. Something about the warning feels personal. Not general. Like it was left for you. You sleep that afternoon, but not well. You dream of snow, deep and wet, and of a hand reaching out of the hot spring. Only the fingers are visible, long and knuckled, with nails that shine like glass. You try to step back, but your feet sink into the earth. You're not on land anymore, you're on a face. A massive, pale face beneath the snow. Its lips begin to move. You wake up choking. The fire's gone out. The room is freezing. Your breath fogs in the air. There's a new object on the windowsill. You approach slowly. It's a ring. Old. Bronze. With a blue stone. Wet, like it was just pulled from a river. You don't touch it. You grab a towel and use the corner to lift it gently. It's heavier than you expect. You check your door. Still locked. You check the windows. Still latched. You're not alone in this place. You never were. That evening, the wind dies down for the first time in days. The snow has stopped. You wrap the ring in fabric and drop it into your bag. You're going to the spring. You wait until the moon rises again. Full, high, and merciless. The walk is short, but it feels longer this time. Like the path is bending in a way you can't see. The trees on the hill sway gently, even without wind. You hear the same hum again, so faint, you wonder if it's in your head. It isn't. You reach the spring. It's steaming. The air around it feels thick, like it's been sweating secrets for years. The water glows faintly under the moonlight, not from the reflection, but from within. You kneel beside it. Your reflection is wrong. It doesn't blink when you do. It lags, just slightly. And behind it, something else moves. You look over your shoulder. Nothing. You reach into your bag and pull out the ring. You hold it over the spring, thinking of the drawing in the journal, the fish with the tooth, the woman in song. Then, without knowing why, you drop the ring into the water. It doesn't sink. It floats. Then it spins. Faster. Faster. The steam rises in columns now. It smells like salt and something sweet, like decay covered in perfume. The surface breaks. A face emerges. A woman's. Her hair spreads around her like ink. Her eyes are open, but too wide, stretched as though someone pulled the skin back and left it that way. Her lips part. She smiles. You fall backward. She doesn't leave the water. She just floats there, staring, smiling, waiting. Then she speaks, only, her mouth moves, but no sound comes out. Instead, the air around you hums. Vibrates. As if her voice isn't made of sound, but pressure. You feel it in your ribs. Your bones. She lifts one hand and points. Behind you. You turn. Someone standing at the edge of the trees. Tall. Wrapped in furs. The figure moves slowly toward you. You stagger back, but you're trapped between the spring and the figure. They step into the moonlight. It's a man. Pale-faced. He's wearing an amulet made of fish bones. You ask who he is. I remember her, he says. His voice is hollow. Like it had to crawl out of a long silence just to reach your ears. He looks down at the spring, then at the journal in your hands. She's not done with you, he says. You ask what she wants. She wants to finish the song. You ask what happens if she does. He stares at you. She won't have to stay under anymore. You glance at the water. She's gone. The surface is still again. But the ring is floating closer to you now, hovering, like it wants to be touched again. You refuse. You close the journal. Back away. You don't care what answers it holds anymore. The man doesn't follow. But as you leave, you hear him whisper something. You don't catch it all. Just one word, chosen. You walk faster. You don't look back. Many people don't believe that certain ghosts want to be remembered. But it's not always about memory. Sometimes, it's about continuation. That night, you barely sleep. When you do, it's shallow, twitchy, as if your mind doesn't trust you enough to fully let go. The journal stays shut on the desk. The ring, you left outside the door in a small wooden bowl. When you check in the morning, it's gone. The bowl is still there. A perfect ring of frost circles it, but nothing inside. You don't mention it to anyone. You haven't seen another villager in 2 days anyway. You stare out the window as the gray morning light stretches itself across the snow. You're trying to tell yourself that nothing has really changed. But deep down, you feel it, something has. You sense it in the way shadows stretch longer than they should. In the way your reflection occasionally lags behind your movement, only for a split second. In the way the wind seems to know your name. At nightfall, you light a few candles. You avoid the mirror. You avoid the spring. You sit by the fire and try to read something normal. But your eyes keep drifting to the wall opposite the fireplace, the far wall, with no window. And then it happens. At first, it's just a glow. A beam of light cutting across the room. You assume it's moonlight filtering through the ceiling cracks. But the angle is wrong. You walk to the wall, slow and quiet. The beam is moving. It starts on the far corner, and glides, almost lazily, across the wall. You watch it, heart tight, mouth dry. There is no light source that explains this. It moves like it's searching. Then it stops. A narrow bar of white, about shoulder height, now shining on the wooden panel. And you realize, the light isn't on the wall. It's in the wall. Something behind the panel is glowing. You press your hand gently against it. It's warm. The wood gives slightly. You push harder. It creaks, resists, then pops inward with a soft click. There's a small cavity inside. Just large enough for a box. You pull it out. It's made of blackened wood, bound in rope. Cold. Heavier than it looks. You untie it. Inside, a hand mirror, old and cloudy, wrapped in yellowed cloth. And beneath it, a photograph. You unfold it with shaking fingers. It's a picture of the cottage you're standing in. Only, in the window, this window, there's a pale face. You drop the photo. You back away. You grab the mirror, wrapped tightly, and shove it back into the box. You push the box back into the cavity, slam the panel shut, and step away from the wall. Your heart doesn't stop pounding for a long time. Eventually, you sit back down by the fire. But the light, that narrow beam, it hasn't moved. It still shines across the room. Still points at that panel. Like it's reminding you, I know where you live. You blow out the candles. You don't want shadows anymore. You lie down, and as your eyes adjust, you notice something unsettling. The moonlight? It isn't shining through a window. You check. There's no gap. No crack. No hole in the ceiling. That light? It's coming from inside. You sit up, breath caught. The beam of moonlight detaches from the wall. It hovers in midair. It floats, slowly, toward the fireplace. It pauses there, flickers once, then sinks down, into the coals. And disappears. The room is still. No sound. No wind. Just the quiet crackle of your nerves. You don't sleep the rest of the night. When the morning comes, the sky is wrong again. Pale. But not overcast. Instead, everything is lit with a strange bluish tinge, like the moon has stained the daylight itself. You step outside. The trees look different. Leaning slightly. As if pulled toward something deep underground. You walk to the edge of the cliff. The ocean is calm. But there's something on the shore below. A pattern, carved into the sand. Circles within circles. Like crop circles, but made of salt lines. You don't go down. You just stand there, staring, feeling like a witness to something that's not for you. You return to the cottage, and for the first time since arriving, you draw all the curtains shut. Even the ones in the back room. Especially those. Later that afternoon, you hear something scrape across the roof. Just once. It doesn't repeat. You sit by the fire and stare at the sealed panel. You whisper to yourself, many people don't believe that light can be alive. But you do now. You've seen it move with intention. You've seen it search. And you're starting to suspect, it doesn't just reveal things. It chooses them. The next morning, the frost is thick as bone. It coats the windows from the inside. You scrape it off with your sleeve and look out into the pale morning, but nothing moves. No birds, no people, not even the usual stirrings of the wind. You decide to leave the cottage for a while. Not forever, just a break, or at least that's what you tell yourself. The cold feels heavier than usual, like it's pushing you down into the earth with every step. The guide, the one who took tourists into the glacier caves, had left a pamphlet at the village cafe weeks ago. You dig it out of your pocket, crumpled and smudged. Into the heart of ice, it reads. The photo shows a mouth of a cave glowing blue, teeth like icicles hanging from the roof. You walk there alone. It's about 2 hours north, following an old road carved into the snow. The wind picks up as you approach the glacier. It screams between the hills, and you pull your coat tighter. The landscape becomes more surreal with every step, ash-colored sky, mountains like hunched giants, and the faint hum of something electrical just beneath the silence. You reach the cave by mid-afternoon. The entrance is just as pictured, wide, blue, glistening like glass. But no sign of the guide. No equipment. No footprints. You call out. No echo. You step inside. The air shifts instantly. Warmer. Close. The ice seems to muffle the world, swallowing every sound. Your own breathing becomes the loudest thing in your ears. The walls glow faintly, not from sunlight, but something else. A bluish-white pulse. Like moonlight trapped in the ice. You go deeper. Past frozen columns, tunnels that spiral downward, chambers that feel too symmetrical to be natural. You lose track of time. Everything blurs into a cold haze. But you keep moving forward, drawn by something you can't name. Eventually, you find something that stops you in your tracks. A hollow in the wall, circular, chest-high, and inside it, more carvings. Not runes. Not symbols. Faces. Dozens of them. Scratched into the ice with uneven hands. Each one different, but all of them share a certain sameness. Hollow eyes. Thin mouths. Every face looking slightly to the left, as if watching something just out of view. One face is fresher than the others. Less worn. Its features are sharper. And it looks exactly like you. You stagger back, heart pounding. The beam of bluish light flickers across the wall, passing over the carved faces, and for a moment, it feels like they're following it, turning slightly in the ice. You press a hand against your chest. Something's wrong with the air now. It's vibrating. You keep walking. The tunnel curves left and narrows. You squeeze through. And enter a chamber unlike anything you've seen. It's spherical. The walls are smooth, clear ice, curved in perfect geometry. At the very center is a low pedestal. On it, a small stone bowl filled with still water. It shouldn't exist in here. Not this far into the glacier. You approach the bowl. Inside, your reflection stares back, but it's not mirroring you. Its lips move independently. You don't hear words. But you feel something. A tug in your ribs. A pressure in your jaw. Like something trying to crawl inside. You step back, nearly slipping on the glassy floor. Suddenly, there's movement behind you. You whirl around. But there's no one. Just shadows shifting along the wall. Then, a sound. Not echo, not dripping water. Footsteps. Very slow. Very soft. As if someone's walking barefoot across the ice. You back out of the chamber. You don't look behind you. You know better. The footsteps continue, following at a steady pace. Your breath fogs the air in front of you. You try to calm it. You navigate back through the tunnel. Past the wall of faces. Past the ice columns. Every once in a while, you swear you see something behind you, just beyond the edge of your vision. A figure moving between walls, trailing moonlight like mist. When you reach the mouth of the cave, the world outside is darker than it should be. Evening already? But the moon, it's out. High above, full and white. Its light hits the ice cave behind you, and for one breathless moment, the entire structure glows. Like a beacon. You run. All the way back to the village, your legs numb, your lungs aching. When you finally reach the cottage, the sky is completely black. You lock the door. You light every candle you can find. You check the mirror in the hall, nothing. But you don't feel safe. You sit on the floor with your back to the fire. And when you glance toward the window, you don't see your reflection. You see the glacier cave. Just the mouth. But the light is still coming from inside. And something is standing at the entrance now. Still. Pale. Watching. Many people don't believe that caves can remember your face. But you do now. Because the one carved into the ice? It was smiling. You don't sleep that night. You try, truly, laying flat on the stiff mattress, pulling the wool blanket up to your nose, even pressing your eyes shut so tightly that lights dance behind your eyelids, but sleep never comes. Not with the moon so bright. Not with that presence still lingering just outside your thoughts, pacing the edge of your memory like it's circling prey. When dawn finally comes, it's not relief. It's more like a truce. The world becomes visible, but not safe. And the moon is still there. High, pale, and unervingly full for what should be a waning cycle. You blink. There are two of them. Two moons, clear as anything. One bright and high, the other slightly lower, dimmer, hovering like a reflection with no surface to mirror from. You stare for so long your neck begins to ache. The second moon flickers ever so slightly. Not like a celestial body, more like a film reel skipping a frame. It makes your stomach churn. You stagger back into the cottage, shaking off the dizziness. When you glance down at your phone, it shows the wrong time. Then it restarts. Then it turns off completely and refuses to turn back on. So, of course, you head to the village cafe. It's the only place where you've ever seen more than two people gathered at once. But when you step inside, the mood is different. Everyone is sitting at the tables. Every seat filled. Silent. Unmoving. Staring out the frost-glazed windows. The man behind the counter doesn't greet you this time. He's not even pretending to wipe down mugs. He's standing there, hands limp at his sides, mouth slightly open. You approach the nearest table. No one looks at you. Until you speak. What's going on? Then they all blink. Simultaneously. A ripple through the cafe, like some collective sigh of returned consciousness. Then, as if someone flipped a switch, everyone begins to stand. One by one. No words. No eye contact. They exit the cafe in silence, footsteps echoing on the old wooden floorboards. You follow. Not because you want to. Because it feels worse not to. Outside, they gather in the square. The two moons hang heavy above. Someone begins to hum. Low. Ancient. A sound that seems to bypass your ears and go straight into your bones. The villagers hum in unison. The same deep, vibrating note. Then, slowly, they begin to move, walking in a spiral pattern, clockwise, around the center of the square. You can see steam rising from their mouths, even though the note never breaks. You try to speak. But your voice catches in your throat. That hum, it's inside you now. You're breathing with it. Your heart beats with it. You take a step forward and realize, you're part of the spiral now. Your legs move without asking. Your breath syncs with theirs. The moons shift above, one beginning to blur like fogged glass, the other sharpening in focus until it feels like it's watching. Not shining, watching. Then the hum shifts. A new tone. Higher. It warbles like a flute played underwater. And someone, or something, enters the center of the spiral. She doesn't walk. She glides. A tall woman in a long gown made of white moss and moonlight. Her hair floats as if underwater. Her eyes are hollow. Not empty. Just infinite. You recognize her. You've never met her, but you've seen her. At the cliff. In the cave. In the water bowl's reflection. The Icelandic ghost that only appears in moonlight. She holds something in her hand, a stone, dark and pulsing faintly. She lifts it skyward, and the second moon begins to shrink. No, not shrink. It's falling. Slowly, gently, the dimmer moon descends like a balloon with no string, touching the top of the square's old church steeple before dissolving in a faint shimmer. And with it, half the crowd begins to collapse. Not dead, just dropped. As if something turned them off. Lights out. You stumble back, no longer humming. No longer in sync. The ghost turns her head, and for the first time, those hollow eyes lock on you. A cold like no other pours into your chest. You can't move. Can't breathe. You feel seen in a way you've never felt before, not known, not recognized, but targeted. Then she raises one hand and points. To the sky? No. To your chest. And suddenly, the stone in her other hand glows so brightly you're forced to shut your eyes. When you open them again, you're standing alone in the square. Everyone is gone. Not collapsed. Not walking. Just vanished. No footprints in the snow. No distant echoes. Just you. And the single moon, back where it belongs. As if nothing ever happened. You stumble home, hands shaking. Later, when you look at your reflection, you notice something off. Your pupils are wrong. One is shaped like a crescent. Many people don't believe that the sky ever opens its eyes. But tonight, you felt it blink. The next morning, you find the postcard waiting on your doorstep. It's strange for two reasons. 1. The village doesn't have a functioning postal system, you'd asked about that days ago when trying to send something home. And 2, it's from you. The handwriting is unmistakable, even if a little messier, shakier. The return address is the same cottage you're staying in. But the date? It's postmarked for next week. You turn it over. The front shows a photo of the cliff at night, the same one your window faces. But something's off, the image is grainy, and there's a pale figure standing on the edge, arms outstretched. Not a blur. Not a trick of the light. Full-bodied, with hair flowing like seaweed. Watching the moon. Your stomach knots. You read the message. If you're reading this, it means the spiral already happened. Don't let her in. The door isn't what it seems. Burn the journal before the next moon. You reread it 5 times. The handwriting is definitely yours, Same loops in the Y's, same sharp T cross. The strangest part? You don't remember writing it. You don't remember any of this. The journal. You left it on the nightstand last night after flipping through its pages again, trying to decipher the symbols that made your teeth hurt just looking at them. But when you go inside, the journal is gone. In its place is a small stone. Dark gray. Smooth. Cold. You don't want to touch it, but your hand moves on its own. You pick it up, and the moment your fingers close around it, a rush of memories, not yours, but almost, flood your mind. A cottage not entirely here. A version of you writing on the floor by candlelight. A second moon in a jar. A scream you didn't hear, but felt. You drop the stone, and it lands with a wet thump, like something soft rather than solid. It leaves no dent. No mark. It simply sits there, glistening faintly in the dull daylight. You glance out the window. A thick fog is rolling in, but not from the sea, it's coming from the cliffs. Crawling upward, devouring the shoreline like it's searching. You step back and notice something carved into your window frame. Tiny symbols. The same ones from the journal. Just now appearing, as if etched while you were away. You lean closer. That's when the knock comes. Not on the front door. On the window. You freeze. It's a soft tap. 1, 2, pause. Then again. Tap. Tap. Your body screams to run, to hide, to do anything but move toward that sound. But your feet don't listen. You draw the curtain aside. Nothing. Just mist. Until you notice it, a faint outline. A face pressed against the other side of the glass, fogging the pane. No features. Just the suggestion of someone watching. Waiting. Breathing. You stumble backward, heart racing. And then your phone dings. Which is impossible, because it hasn't turned on in 2 days. The screen flashes once. Then settles on a new message in your Notes app, one you didn't write. She saw you. You saw her. That's how it begins. You swipe to delete it. It doesn't go away. You try restarting the phone. It won't turn off. Another note appears, this time in a notification bubble. You need to finish what you started. Finish what? You don't even remember starting anything. But somehow, a piece of you does. That part urges you toward the fireplace. There's no wood inside, just ash, still warm. You grab a candle and begin searching the cottage, checking every drawer, cabinet, crawl space. In the closet behind the bed, you find it, the journal. But it's different. It's thicker now. Heavier. The leather binding seems to twitch in your hands. You feel its pulse. Your name is on the spine now. When you flip to the first page, it's blank. Then ink begins to appear, line by line, in your own handwriting, live, like something is writing through you. It says, "Tonight she chooses. One leaves. One stays." That's when you hear the second knock. This time from the door. You hold your breath. Step closer. The knock comes again. Not hard. Not fast. Just insistent. You remember the postcard. Don't let her in. But something whispers inside you now, a part that feels older than this cottage, older than the stones beneath your feet. It tells you, if you don't open the door, someone else will. The air shifts. You look through the peephole. And you see yourself. Hair soaked. Eyes hollow. Lips slightly parted, as if about to whisper. She smiles. Then vanishes. You step back. The knock comes one final time. Only it's not a knock. It's the journal slamming shut on its own. You drop it into the fireplace. Light the match. The flames rise unnaturally fast, white-hot, crackling like bones breaking. The fog outside stops. The stone on the floor splits in two. And just like that, silence. Until your phone dings once more. One moon remains. Many people don't believe that time ever bends in places like this. That choices ripple across versions of you like stones in water. But this village knows. And now, so do you. You don't sleep that night. You don't even try. The fire burns down to embers sometime after 2 a.m., and you sit beside it, wrapped in a blanket, eyes fixed on the cracked stone lying cold on the hearth. The journal is gone, truly gone. Not ashes. Not charred scraps. Just, gone, as if it never existed. But something inside you says it didn't burn. Not really. It moved. Outside, the fog hasn't returned, but the moonlight is unnaturally bright again, flooding through the curtains, soaking into the walls like water through paper. There's no sound. Not the wind. Not the sea. Not even the distant bark of the fox you'd heard on earlier nights. Just stillness. You don't realize you've been holding your breath until your chest aches. And then your body decides. It's not safe here anymore. You pack what little you have, barely more than your coat, your boots, and a flashlight that's suddenly working again. Before you leave, you glance once more into the mirror above the fireplace. You expect to see your reflection. You don't. You see the woman from the window. Not behind you, instead of you. She tilts her head. Then she mouths something. You run. Outside, the cliffs are coated in frost even though the air isn't cold. The path downward is slick, but you keep your footing. You head for the eastern trail, the one the locals told you not to follow. The one they said doesn't go anywhere anymore. But that's exactly where you need to be. You follow the path as it winds through thick stands of moss-covered trees. The moon keeps pace above, full and heavy. At your back, you feel something stir, not close yet, but not far either. As though it's waiting for the moment you look behind. So you don't. You reach the edge of the village forest. There, hidden behind a crumbled fence and 3 overgrown sheep skeletons, is what you came for. The stone archway. You don't know why you know it's here. You just do. It's not a ruin, not exactly. The stones are too perfect, stacked with impossible precision, leaning just slightly forward as if bowing toward you. There's no writing. No decoration. Just that same faint pulse, like the one from the journal. You step through it. The air thickens. A low hum presses against your skull. The world flickers. For a second, the landscape vanishes, and you stand on a flat, gray plain under a sky full of holes. Not stars. Holes. Each one leaking light that bends as it falls, curving like water circling a drain. Then the forest snaps back into place. You're still in the same spot, almost. But something's wrong. The trees look younger. The air is colder. Your hands? They're covered in cuts that weren't there before. Your coat is missing. And in your left pocket, you find a photograph. It's you, standing beside a woman, but her face is blurred, like someone wiped it away with a wet thumb. You're both standing in front of the cottage. Same place, different time. Behind you, there's no window. Only stone. A voice murmurs behind you. It doesn't say words, just a vibration of sound that slips under your skin like a needle. You turn. No one's there. But something left something behind. Footprints in the frost. Yours. And not yours. You follow the path deeper, until you reach a clearing. There, in the moonlight, stands a house. Not the cottage. Not anything from before. It's a church. Old. Icelandic. Turf-roofed, half-sunken into the hill, candles burning behind glassless windows. You approach. The front door is ajar. Light flickers from within. Inside, the pews are gone. The altar is covered in sand. And there, in the center of the room, stands the woman. Not a ghost. Not a figure. A mirror. But not reflecting you. It's her. She watches you from the other side. You blink. And now she's beside you. You feel her breath near your ear. She whispers something in a language you almost remember, as if from a dream you had when you were 4 years old, or from a song your grandmother hummed before forgetting her name. She reaches toward your chest, not to harm, but to open. And you let her. Because you understand now. This story was never about escape. It was about exchange. You drop to your knees. The room spins. The mirror shatters without a sound. And when the pieces hit the floor, they show a dozen versions of you, each frozen in different stages of decision. Some ran. Some stayed. Some opened the door. Only one burned the journal. You reach down. Pick up a shard. Your reflection smiles, even though you are not. And then, slowly, the woman begins to fade. Not vanish. Fade. Like moonlight when the sun begins to rise. And you whisper, "I saw you." A moment of silence follows. Then her voice, barely audible. "And I saw you." Many people don't believe there are places where the veil between moments thins so much that time forgets itself, folds in, touches, leaves stains. But this place remembers. And now, so do you. The world feels rewound. You're still kneeling in the church, but the moonlight has dimmed. The candles have gone out. The mirror's gone, along with the woman, or whatever part of her once lingered here. What remains is a sense of silence so dense it hums through your ribs like the breath of something ancient holding very, very still. You rise, slowly. Your legs ache, as if you've been crouched for hours or days. The air smells of peat and something burnt, like extinguished incense or singed hair. There's ash on your hands. You don't know why. You step outside. The turf roof behind you sinks a little, like the house is sighing its final breath. You look up. The moon is no longer full. Just a thin crescent now, faint and brittle. Like it's used up everything it had to give. You check your pocket again. The photo's still there, but the background has changed. The house behind you is in ruins now, nothing but stones scattered in moss. You're still standing beside the faceless woman, but this time, you're holding hands. You don't remember the moment the photo was taken. You're not even sure you remember being in this version of yourself. Something's been taken. Something else left in its place. The wind finally returns, gentle and cold. It brushes your cheeks like fingers. And far off, you hear it again, the whispering. Only this time, it's not one voice. It's dozens. Layered. Familiar. Some say Iceland is full of hidden people, huldufolk, who live beneath the rocks and only appear to those caught in the in-between. But what they don't say, or maybe don't know, is that some of those people were once like you. Travelers. Dreamers. Witnesses who saw too much, stayed too long, or stepped too deep into stories meant to stay quiet. You try to retrace your steps, heading back through the trail, but the arch is gone now. The path loops in ways that feel intentional, wrong, as if the forest is subtly reshaping itself just enough to keep you moving forward, but never quite out. You recognize a tree with two trunks twisted together. You passed it an hour ago. You mark it with a scratch from your key, only to pass it again 5 minutes later, scratch still fresh. The fog begins to creep in again, not heavy like before, but teasing. It wraps the trail like gauze, softening edges, whispering allusions into every movement. Your flashlight flickers, then dies. You don't bother shaking it. Instead, you focus on the sound, the distant crunch of something walking. Not behind you. Ahead. You crouch behind a rock outcropping, heart pounding so hard it hurts. You wait. The footsteps stop. Then something steps into the clearing. At first, it looks like a shadow, vaguely human in shape, but elongated, warped. It walks like it remembers being a person once, but forgot how the knees bend. It pauses near the same twisted tree, cocks its head, and slowly, very slowly, sniffs the air. It's looking for you. You don't breathe. You don't blink. And just as quickly as it arrived, it moves on, vanishing into the trees without a sound. You take your chance. Moving low, you cut off the trail, weaving through brush and roots, boots soaked in moss and something stickier. There's a rhythm building now, almost like a heartbeat under your feet. As if the land itself is awake and listening. You emerge onto a small cliff clearing, the same one where you first saw the northern lights. Except now, the sky is darker than ink. No auroras. No stars. Only that thin, dying crescent moon. And a figure, standing at the edge. You nearly cry out, until you realize. It's you. Or it was. The same jacket. Same boots. Face turned up to the sky, hands slightly raised as if waiting for something to descend. You move closer, and as you approach, the figure dissolves into mist, not vanishing, just spreading. Returning to wherever it came from. You're left alone again, and the realization sinks deep, the ghost isn't her. It never was. It was you, or the memory of what you became. The echo of a decision you haven't made yet. You turn, and for the first time, you can see the village below again. The lights are on in a few of the cottages. Smoke from chimneys. You see the shoreline beyond it, the black sea catching what little moonlight remains. It feels like a choice. Go back down. Or keep walking forward. But the strange thing is, you know that either way, something follows. Because once you've seen the ghost, once you've stood in the moonlight and heard your name whispered in a voice you don't recognize as your own, you never really leave. You can return to the world. You can sit at breakfast tables, answer emails, pay bills, smile at strangers in checkout lines. But part of you will always be here. Looking back through the mirror. Watching. Waiting. Many people don't believe in spirits that mimic our decisions, echo our paths, or peel back the fabric between dream and memory just enough to step through. But now you do. And deep down, you suspect. Someone else might see you next time. You leave the cliff at a slow, deliberate pace, not because you're unafraid, but because rushing would feel like disrespect. The forest no longer shifts around you. It simply watches. You can't explain how you find the path again. It's not the trail from before, it's older, narrower, with stones etched in runes too worn to read. But it leads you downhill, toward the shoreline where the village should be. A pale mist trails behind you like a train of breath. As you walk, the wind begins to sing. Not music, not quite. But a tone that swells and dips like a lullaby sung by the earth. It hums in your chest. You feel your pulse sinking with it. It's not unpleasant. In fact, you feel lighter. Almost like you're walking off your body. The ground softens under your boots. Gravel gives way to sand. Salt stings the back of your throat. And then, at last, you hear waves. You emerge onto the shore, where the black sand gleams faintly under the sliver of moonlight. The sea stretches into nothingness. In the distance, you see the outline of houses, dim lights behind windows, the silhouette of a single person standing with a lantern on the dock. You could go to them. You could say something like, "Hey, I saw a ghost," or "I think something's wrong with me," or even just, "Do you hear the voices too?" But you don't. Because the answer is already with you. You kneel in the sand, letting the sea breeze thread through your hair. The mist from the trees has followed you, but now it curls in slow spirals above the water, never touching it. And across the waves, far into the open dark, something glows. A reflection? No. A face? No. It's the mirror. Or something like it. The same strange shimmer, far out to sea, as if the moonlight has pooled into a perfect circle on the water's surface. You're drawn to it, step by step. Your boots fill with brine, your jeans soak through, the water climbs your thighs, then your waist. But you don't feel cold. You don't feel anything at all. You just keep walking toward the reflection, toward the place where the moonlight lives when it's not in the sky. And when you reach it, the water stops. Completely still. You look down. It's not your face reflected. It's hers. And this time, she has your smile. You don't remember kneeling. You don't remember the taste of salt, or the stillness, or the wind falling silent. But you feel yourself sinking, not drowning, not dying. Just, softening. Melting into the mirror. Becoming what's needed. What's expected. The voice returns, not as whisper now, but as memory. You hear the last thing she said before the mirror broke. Stay. That's all it was. A single word with the gravity of eternity. And now you understand. That's what this story has always been. Not a warning. Not a lesson. A ritual. You were never the audience. You were the offering. You turn slowly in the shallows. The village is gone. The mountains are black shapes under a dissolving sky. And in the distance, on a different shore entirely, you see a figure stepping through another trail, just like you did. Just beginning. You raise your hand, not to wave, but to echo. To call. And far off, in a different world, they pause. They look up at the moon. And they listen. Because now it's your voice that travels the wind. Your face that flickers behind glass. Your story that begins again. And now, everything becomes slower. The wind quiets to a breath. The sea hushes to a whisper. You no longer walk, but drift, your thoughts softening like footprints in fresh snow. The cold isn't biting anymore. It's gentle. A velvet hush that wraps around your shoulders like a worn blanket. The mist, once filled with voices and faces, becomes a soft curtain drawn across the world. Your limbs feel warm. Your breath shallow, steady. The night sky above holds no stars, only soft silver, faint enough not to disturb, but bright enough to keep the dark from closing in completely. There's no fear now. Just a presence, like someone sitting quietly nearby, watching over you without needing to speak. Your story, whatever it was, can rest here, folded into the hush of waves, tucked beneath the moss and stone of the old land. And as you lie back into the dark, eyes heavy, you might feel a faint pull, like you're still moving, still walking, still listening. But there's no need. Everything is done. The mirror is still. The forest sleeps. And you can let go now. Let the moonlight hold your thoughts. Let the wind cradle your name. Let yourself disappear into the gentlest kind of forgetting. Sweet dreams.